Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 5. You've been rocking it through our first unit. I hope Modern Classroom is making sense so far. Today, we're going to shift from looking at some reading to looking at some writing, specifically writing with attention to detail. And our goal with this lesson is that students, you, will be able to write a professional email. You may have already had to write professional emails. You will definitely have to write them in the future. So this is a really great skill to work on. Before we get to that, I want to very quickly review our classroom expectations. Use your time efficiently. You've seen with the self-pacing of Modern Classroom, you get to make your own routine, but that pacing tracker is there to help you stay accountable. So if you feel like I haven't been pacing myself that well, think about that tracker, talk to one of us, we'll help you out. Stay positive. We've had to deal with a lot of issues already this year, from the Wi-Fi not working to, of course, having to wear masks for COVID. But I've seen a lot of you have great attitudes and keep pushing through beyond that. If you have a question, ask it. Even though you're watching a video right now and you're not talking to me directly, know that you can pause at any time, and if you're in the classroom, I'm right there. If you're at home, shoot me an email or a Schoology message. We're always available to answer questions, and so are your peers in the classroom. If you cause a problem, fix it. We're all here to learn together, and sometimes there can be tension, people can make mistakes. That's all right, it happens. But take responsibility for your part in our classroom community. And finally, be kind to others, especially if they don't deserve it. This goes along with the last one, but everyone has bad days. We all have complicated lives. So, as much as possible, try to take things a step back and say, all right, you know what? I'm just going to show some basic decency, even if this person is not being the nicest right now. So, what makes an email professional? Today, we can send messages instantly around the world through text messaging, online forums, Reddit, emails, all sorts of things. And some of them don't have to be professional at all. If I'm texting my best friend, I'm not exactly going to be using very formal writing. I'm not going to be making sure I spell every single word correctly. But if I'm writing an email to a person that I want to hire me for a new job, I probably want to make sure that they're getting a good first impression of me. I don't want things to not go together and not make sense. I don't want typos that change the meaning of what I'm saying. I don't want unclear messages and formatting. And I definitely don't want to mess up my grammar so that it's confusing or funny. I want to make sure it looks like I know what I'm talking about. It's important to be able to write these professional emails because, firstly, it's efficient. If you know how to write a professional email, you've got a template that you can go to in pretty much any situation. You also want that sense of professionalism. If you're emailing someone who's never met you, this is their only impression of you, whether that's fair or not. You want it to be a good one. And finally, writing professionally can help you advocate for yourself and others. If you write with very strong attention to detail and lots of purpose and intention, it's much harder for people to write you off or misinterpret you. And that allows you to potentially achieve things you wouldn't be able to otherwise. So, we're going to go through 8 simple tips for making your emails more professional. The first one is probably the most important. Consider your audience. Who are you writing to? What tone should you take? Is it your best friend, so you can be kind of humorous or sarcastic? Is it your boss, so you should be very serious and calm? Consider style as well. How formal or informal would this person expect you to be? The second tip is to include a specific subject line so that the person receiving the email instantly knows what you're talking about and it doesn't just get lost in their inbox. If you're writing a letter at school, it can be helpful to include a class section or hour, as well as a specific topic like the unit number or lesson number. So, for example, you might send an email that has in the subject line, help on Unit 0, Lesson 3, something like that. Tip 3 is to include a professional greeting. Emails are usually expected to start off with some sort of greeting, even though text messages usually don't, Reddit posts usually don't. People are going to expect that you have that little formal greeting. Dear Miss Fremont and Mr. Godin, hello, etc. It doesn't have to be complicated, just something to show I'm reaching out and opening this communication with you. Tip number 4, avoid using all caps and lots of exclamation marks. To a lot of people, it comes across as screaming, yelling, being angry. Tone in writing is really tough. You can't hear someone's tone, you can't see what they're doing with their face. So it's really hard to get across what kind of tone you're communicating. That's really why we use things like emojis to try to make up for that. But in a professional email, you're often not going to have those. So make sure your tone is as clear as it can be. You don't want someone to think you're yelling at them when that's not your intention at all. Tip number 5 is to be clear, mention specifics and questions. If you send an email to me saying, I'm confused and I need help, well, I'll be happy to help you, but I won't know how. It will be much easier if you say, I'm confused about Unit 0, Lesson 4. I don't know what an assertion is. How do I write one about the poem? Then I know exactly what you need help with so I can actually be useful. The more clear and specific you can be, the less time you're going to spend emailing back and forth trying to figure out what each other mean. Tip 6, allow for response time. Teachers have a lot of responsibilities and can be pretty busy, and I know that you all have a lot of responsibilities too. So if we don't immediately email you back, please give us a little time. Usually allow 24 hours before you send a follow up email, just as we won't expect you to get back to us instantly if we send you an email. At the same time, we're human, so sometimes things get lost. Please do feel free to check in with us if you want to follow up or make sure we saw your message. As long as you're not, sending an all caps yelling email about it, we'll be responsive to it. Tip number 7, proofread. This one is so important too. Computers will catch a lot of this today, but they don't catch everything. So give a quick look over your emails to spell check and correct any errors, especially when it comes to names. Many people are sensitive about their names being misspelled. It's not a big deal in school usually, but imagine you're emailing someone you want to hire you and you misspell their name. They might not be so happy about that. So it's a good thing to double check. And finally, tip number 8, just like you started with a greeting, end your email with a signature and an ending. This can be thank you and your name, sincerely and your name, see you tomorrow and your name. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Choose one that fits your audience, the tone you're going for, and whatever feels comfortable to you. But ending your email, especially if it's the first email in a chain with a signature like this, is a great way to again increase that professionalism and make the person receiving it feel a lot more excited to respond to you. So, those are our 8 tips for professional email writing. As you continue through lesson 5, you're going to practice on these tips, first fixing some emails that don't quite use all of them, and then actually applying them to your own email. As always, if you feel like you have any questions on any of the tips, you've got a table of friends right around you. You've got myself and Mr. Godin, but I think you've got it.